Hi students, welcome to the science class. In last session, under the chapter of living organisms, characteristics and habitats, we discussed about some of the characteristics, some of the properties of the animals, isn't it? We discussed about the different types of the animals which are present in the different places, isn't it? The animals which are present in the Himalayan region, the animals which are present in the deserts, the animals which are present in the sea or inside the water, and also we discussed the different types of the plants which are present in the different places, and also we consider one animal which is present in a desert, that is nothing but the camel. And we discussed about the properties or the characteristics of the camel which is helpful to live in the desert. That is, camel has the long legs, and it excrete very less amount of the urine, and third one, see, it sweats very less, and also it has a flat-footed, it is a flat-footed, means these properties which are present in a camel, that will makes it survive in the desert, that will helpful to the camel to live in the desert. Why? Because the availability of the water in the desert, it is very less. So if once animal take the water, once animal get the water, it needs to store the water for the long time, because there is no water is present in the deserts, very little amount of the water will be present in the deserts. And also if once the camel takes the water, so it needs to take that water, keep that water for the long time. It is not, the camel doesn't easily removes the water from its body. That is, it means that it excretes the very less amount of urine. That why? Because if the amount of water is present in the desert is more, there is no problem if the camel makes the urines in a very large amount, but the amount of the water is very less in the deserts. If the amount of the urine comes from the camel, if it is increases, what happens? The thirstiness in the camel increases, isn't it? The thirstiness, that is to feel to drink the water will be increases, but the camel doesn't get the good amount of the water in the deserts. That's why camel excretes very less amount of the urine. This property helps the camel to live in the deserts. And another one condition, that is it sweats very less. Again I am taking here due to the reason of less water. Next I am going to consider the another one animal which is present in a different place. I am considering one animal, camel, which is present in the desert. It has the properties, the camel has the characteristics which are helpful to live, helpful to survive in the desert. Next I am going to consider another one animal, that is nothing but the fish, which is used to live under the water. See how the body structure will be present in the fishes which is helpful to live in the water, that will be studied now. Let us look at the different kinds of fish. Some of these are shown in figure 9.3 in your textbook. The figures of the fishes are shown, and you are also seeing the fishes. There are so many kinds of fish, but do you see that they have something common about their shape? See, when you are going to see the different colors of the fishes, different types of the fishes, so that we see different types of many types of the fishes are present inside the water, inside the river, inside the sea. But the very common factor, it is the structure, body structure of the fish. You have to observe in the aquarium. The body shape of the fish is always similar. Isn't it like that? This is the body shape of the fish I am considering. So all the fishes has the similar body structure, isn't it? That is helpful to live, helpful to move inside the water. That is the first property of the fish, that will be seen now. All those ones shown here have a streamlined shape, and this shape helps them to move inside the water, and this structure it is called it as a streamlined shape, streamlined structure, streamlined structure. This structure, the body structure of the fish, it is called it as a streamlined structure, and this streamlined structure it is helpful for the movement of the fishes inside the water. All the fishes has the same structure, body structure, isn't it? Even though if we are going to see the structure of a boat, that is somewhat similar to the body structure of the fish, isn't it? It is somewhat similar. Looking to the structures of body structures of the fish and the boat, they are somewhat similar. Why? Because to move very quickly inside the water, this streamlined body structure helps for the fish and also for the boat. This shape helps them move inside the water. Fish have a slippery scales on their bodies. These scales protect the fish and also help in easy movement through the water. Some scales, the scales, fins like structure, the scales are present on the body, which are helpful. The scales are present on a body. The scales which are present on a body, that will be helpful for the fish to move inside the water. And then, so what is the two structures we are going to see is, one it is a streamlined structure, that is first the character, and then another one is scales. Some of the scales are present. The body shape, the body of the fish has some scales. This is the another one characteristic of the fishes which is helpful to live inside the water. Then next, we discussed in chapter 8 that fish have a flat fins and tails that help them to change the direction and keep their body balance in the water. So they have the one, that is the fishes has the two. Once again see here, the fishes has a flat fins and a tails. The fish has a tail and flat fins. These are fins. Fishes has a fins and a tail. This property, this characteristic of the fish, that is fins and the tails, which is helpful for the fish to move inside the water. So it balances when it is turns, when it is try to turn from, when it is try to change its direction inside the water, the tail and the fins helps for the movement of the fish inside the water. So another one most important body character, that is fins and flats, which are present on the body of a fish, which is helpful for the fish to live inside the water. Next it is gills present in the fish help them to use oxygen dissolved in the water. The very specialized structure which is present in the fish, it is nothing but the gills. So we used to take the oxygen which is present in the environment with the help of the nose. In the respiration process, we take the oxygen. So for to live an organism, it must take the oxygen, it must make the respiration. So but the inside the water, when if you are going to dip inside the water completely, you feel that there is no oxygen is present. It is very difficult to respire. But the fishes are present inside the water. How they are going to get the oxygen? The fishes has the specialized structures called the gills. With the help of the gills, the water having some dissolved oxygen. Inside the water, some oxygen it is dissolved. That oxygen will be utilized by the fishes with the help of the gills. This is another one specialized structure which is present in the fish, which helps to survive inside the water. Is it clear? Next, we see that the features of a fish help to live inside the water, and the features of the camel help it to survive in a desert. We have taken only two examples from a very wide variety of animals and plants that live in the earth. In all this variety of organisms, we will find that they have a certain features that help them live in the surroundings in which they are normally found. So from both two examples, we come to know that the living organisms, either may be a plant or may be animals, they are going to change us. They are going to have some of the characteristics which are present in the based on their places, based on their environmental conditions. Isn't it? So in the desert, the environmental condition, it is very hot, there is no water is present. The camel itself adjusts its body with having the characteristics of long legs, excrete less amount of urine, and it sweats very less. But when we are going to consider the fishes is present inside the water. It also has the characteristics to survive inside the water with the help of some of the characteristics called streamlined body shape, which is helps for the movement of the fish, and another one is the scales which are present on the body of the fish, which is also helpful for survive in the water, and another one is the fins and the flat tail, which is helps to turn or which is helps to change the direction in the movement of the fish, and also gills for the respiration process. The very specialized structures which are present in the fish are called as a gills. So the animals and plants has their very specialized characteristics. They are going to adopt the very specialized characteristics in their body structure to adapt or to adjust to the different environments. Have you got understood? These are called it as adaptations. You have to remember, the body structures are the sum of the characteristics of the living organisms which they are adopted, which they are having according to the environmental conditions, that are known as the adaptations. These are known as the adaptations of the camel. These are known as the adaptations of the fishes. Is it clear? Next, the presence of specific features or certain habits which enable an organism to live naturally in a place called adaptations. The presence of specific features or a organism, see, the presence of specific features or a certain habits which are enable an organism to live in a adapt some organisms, that are called it as adaptations. What it is? The presence of specific features or a certain habits which enable an organism to live naturally in a place is called adaptations. The specialized characteristics which are present in the animals, which is enables that animals to live in the different habitat or in a particular habitat, that are called it as adaptations. That are called it as adaptations. For example, I am taking another one example here, the cactus plant. The cactus plant which are present in the deserts, they are also having the specific features, like they used to live in using very less amount of the water. Have you got understood? They grow with using very less amount of the water, and they lose very less amount of the water to the environment. The spines, the small spines which are present on the body of the cactus plants, which doesn't leave the water to evaporate. So it can be adjusted to the desert condition, because there is no water is present. If the evaporation rate is high, then it is very difficult to survive in the deserts. So this cactus plants has a spines, small spines on their body. Why? Because they helpful to keep, they helpful to decreases the evaporation rate of water. Is it clear? That is the adaptation of the cactus. Adaptations of the organisms differ depending on their place and place of dwelling. So these adaptations are going to be different. They are dependent on where the place they are going to live. Have you got understood? That is why a fish cannot live out of a water, and camel cannot live in a sea. See, these adaptations are based on the place which they are present, which they are live. So that's why the fish doesn't live in a desert, and the camel doesn't live inside the water, because they has the very specialized characteristics. The place where organisms live is called a habitat. So the place which the organism live is called it as a habitat. For example, fish lives inside the water, inside a sea, inside a river. Then the habitat of the fish, it is nothing but any ponds, rivers, or the sea. And habitat of the camel lives in the desert, and the habitat of the camel, it is nothing but deserts. Habitat means a dwelling place. Habitat means a dwelling place. Dwelling place means a living place. For example, the dwelling place for us, it is our home. Like that, the dwelling place for the camel, it is nothing but the desert. The habitat provides food, water, air, shelter and other needs to the organism. The habitat, the place which they are going to live, that provides food, water, oxygen, air and also shelter. Shelter means the home that gives the shelter to the living organisms which are present in that particular habitat. Several kinds of the plants and animals live in the same habitat. The plants and animals that live on a land are said to be live in a terrestrial habitats. See, the plants and animals that live on a land are said to live in a terrestrial habitats. See, the plants and animals which are present on the land are called as terrestrial habitats. Terrestrial. The plants and animals which are live on the earth's surface are called as a terrestrial habitats. For example, camel, it is also comes under the terrestrial habitat, isn't it? Because it is live on the earth's surface, that is on the land. Some examples for the terrestrial habitats are nothing but forest, grasslands, deserts, coastals and mountain region. The mountain region, deserts, forest and also hills, these are all comes under the terrestrial habitats. The habitats, on the other hand, the habitats of the plants and animals which that live inside the water are called as aquatic habitats. The habitats in which the plants and animals which are live inside the water, that are called as aquatic habitats. Aquatic habitats. Aqua means water. Aqua means water. Aquatic means inside the water. Inside the water, the habitats which are present, that habitats are called as aquatic waters. Examples for the terrestrial habitat is nothing but forest, mountains, deserts, etc. But the example for the aquatic habitats is nothing but ponds, rivers, seas, etc. So, the plants and animals which are live inside the water, that habitats are called as aquatic habitats. Is it clear? Next. Lakes, rivers and oceans are some examples for the aquatic habitats. There are large variations among terrestrial habitats like forests and grasslands, deserts, coastals and mountain regions located in different parts of the world. See, you have to see here clearly, there are a large difference between the forest and the mountains. There is large difference between the habitats which are present on the earth's surface. Mountains are very different from the forest. The Himalayan mountains are very different from the deserts. So, when we are going to consider the different habitats, the habitats are very different from each other. The organisms, both plants and animals living in a habitat, are its biotic components. So, the organisms, the plants and animals which are present in a particular habitat, they are called its biotics. Its biotics. For example, the fishes are present in the sea, the fishes are present inside the river. So, the biotics of the water, the biotics of the river, the biotics of the sea, it is nothing but the fish or the sum of the plants. Like that, the living organisms and the plants which are live in that particular habitat, they are called as biotics of that habitat. Biotics. Next. The non-living things such as rocks, soil and air and water in that habitat constitutes its abiotic component. So, when we are going to consider the habitat inside the water, so the habitat, it is nothing but the river and river. I am considering one habitat, it is river or a ocean. I am considering ocean. Inside the ocean, not only fishes are present, some of the dead some of the non-living things are also present, rocks, some of the sticks, isn't it? Some of the that is what we are going to say. Some of the beetles that were present inside the water, that are called it as non-biotics of that habitat. The biotics means the living things, plants and animals which are present in a particular habitat are called it as a biotics of that habitat, and the non-living things like stone, water, air which are present in that habitat, that are called it as a non-biotic components. A sunlight and a heat are a biotic or abiotic components. Yes, sunlight and heat. Sunlight and heat are also abiotic components. We know that some plants grow from seeds. Let us look at some abiotic factors and their effect on seeds as they grow into young plants. See here, I already know that the plants are going to grow with the help of the sunlight and the heat. So sunlight and the heat are abiotic components. With using that abiotic components, how the plants are going to grow, that will be studied now. Activity 2. Recall activity 5 in chapter 1. We made sprouts from moong dal and chana seeds. We make the sprouts, isn't it? We get the sprouts means the seeds are going to grow and make some sprouts. That's are called it as a sprouts. When the seed turned into a sprout, it is said to have a germinated. So when the seed is going to be sprouted, that is called it as a germinated. This is the beginning of life of new plant. So it is the beginning stage of a new plant. So I am considering one example. If when any animal got birth from its mother, it is the beginning stage. Like that, the sprouting of a seed, it is the beginning stage of a plant. Is it clear? So a small child which comes from the stomach of the mother, that is the starting stage, that is the birth stage of that animal or from that any organism. So in a similar way, the sprouting, it is the birth stage of the plant, that is germinating, that is called it as a germination or a germinated. This is the beginning of the life of a new plant. Collect some dry moong seeds, keep 20 to 30 seeds aside and soak the rest in a water for a day. So take that moong dal seeds and you have to keep some seeds inside or in a dry place, and you have to keep some of the seeds inside the water for one day. Divide the soaked seeds into 4 parts. Keep one part completely submerged in the water for 3 to 4 days. Do not disturb the dry seeds and those submerged in water. Keep one part of soaked seeds in a sunny room and another in a completely dark region like a cupboard that does not allow any sunlight to come in. Keep the last part in a very cold surroundings, say in a refrigerator or with the ice around them. So you have to make that sprouted seeds which are present in the water into 4 parts. You have to keep one part inside the water only, and you have to keep the second part to the sunlight, the region where the sunlight will becomes, and the third part you have to keep that seeds into the any wooden block which the light it is not present in the dark room, and the last part you have to keep that last part inside the fridge, inside the cold place. What happens to these seeds, that will be seen now. Rainage them and replace the water every day. See, rainage them and replace the water every day. What do you notice after a few days? Do these seeds in all the 5 conditions germinate uniformly? Do you find slower or no germination in any of these? See, when you are going to see the germination process in all the 4 conditions, the germination process, that is the growth of the plants, is it same in all the conditions? No, it is very different when you are going to consider the different characteristics. Why? Because the seeds which are present in the light, in the sunlight, they are grow very quickly, and the color it is green. But the seeds which are present in the dark room, they are not growing very quickly, and the color of that seeds is very yellowish. And the seeds which are present inside the refrigerator, they never grown, and the seeds again these all the 4 seeds are now completed, isn't it? So the one seed which is present in the present inside the sunlight, they grow very more. The seed which is present inside the water, or the seed which is present inside the cupboard or inside the dark room, which grows very less, but the color of the seed it is, or the color of the plant it is somewhat yellowish. And the seed which is present inside the fridge, it never grown, isn't it? So why? Because due to the temperature and also due to the heat and due to the sunlight. Do you realize that abiotic factors like air, water, light and heat are important for the growth of plants? From this activity, we come to know that the abiotic components like the air, water, sunlight, heat are most important for the growth of the plant. So, in fact, abiotic factors are important for all living organisms. We find out that organisms exist in a very cold as well as very hot climates, isn't it? How do they manage to survive? Adaptations is the method by which organisms get well adjusted to the climate. As we know already, the living organisms present in hot conditions also in the very cold conditions. But how they are going to live? With some of the adaptations. They are going to make the adaptations in their body and they are going to adjust the climate which they are present, which they are going to live in that place. Adaptations does not take place in a short time because the abiotic factors of a region also changes very slowly. Those organisms which cannot adapt to the changes die and only the adapted ones survive. See here, the adaptations which comes inside any living organisms, that will comes not only quickly. Why? Because the environmental conditions which are present in a one place, that doesn't changes very quickly. It takes large amount of time. So the animals, the living organisms which are present in the particular place, which they are going to adopt some adaptations in their body, can survive in that place. The animals which doesn't make the adaptations in their body, they are going to die. Next, organisms adapt to different abiotic factors in a different ways. This result in a wide variety of organisms in a different habitats. So, the living organisms are going to adapt their body structures, they adapt their body characters in a different way. Therefore, we are going to find out the different types of the living organisms on the different places. Let us look at some habitats, understood the abiotic factors and the adaptations of the animals in these habitats. So, in the next session, we are going to see how the living organisms are going to take the adaptations, are going to make the adaptations in their body structure according to the environmental conditions. How they are going to make, how they are going to start to make the adaptations in their body. What are the adaptation structures they are going to take? Why the adaptations are going to be in that structure? That will be studied in the next session. Thank you.